Oh, what a lad. Well, here we are with another episode and another absolute lad. 10 years ago, today's guest started his professional rugby career as an 18-year-old playing for Auckland, and not long after, he was playing for the Blues. He then headed over to France to play for Bordeaux and then off to Scotland to play for Edinburgh. He has since returned home where he's had a stint with the mighty Hurricanes, and now he's down in Christchurch with the mighty Crusaders. He's had some career for a 28-year-old, and anyone who has spent just a minute with this lad will know he is one of the greatest lads around. It is the great Simon Hickey. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, mate. Have an intro there. Mum would be proud listening to that one. Thanks, mate. Yeah, it's been a interesting journey to get to this point when you sound out all the teams like that. You know, I've certainly hopped around a few places, but as you said, it has been an enjoyable journey. So, yeah, good to be on the show, mate. Thanks very much for having me.
Nah, no problem, mate. Like I said, crazy career, like so many teams, and you've seen a lot, and you're still so young. So, mate, looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it. But, mate, how are you finding Christchurch? How's the Crusaders?
It's good, eh? Coming down here, I guess. I was wondering, you know, what makes them tick. You know, why are they such a strong team year after year? And you know, I think having a few months in the environment, you can sort of see why. You know, they're just the ultimate professionals. They love their code, you know, and they work hard and work smart. And yeah, it's really, really cool team to be a part of.
How's it compared to the other teams that you've been involved in? I know you've been with the Blues, you've been with the Hurricanes, you've seen all these different environments around the world. What makes the Crusaders so damn good?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer that one. But I think I said it just before, like they love their code. Yeah. They, you know, the boys, they really do love it. And, you know, they do the extra work required, you know, that at other places that might get skimmed over. You know, boys, you'll come in at 4:00 on a Friday afternoon and, you know, there's a good chance that there's three boys sitting on a computer going over, making sure they know their roles and just little stuff like that. You know, they're uber professional and don't leave any stone unturned going into a game.
Is there been anyone down there who's really impressed you, really stood out with how they go about their business?
There's quite a few. That's a tricky question, but you look at someone like Ethan Blackadder. You know, he's an absolute grafter. I know he's a lad who's been on here before. Listen to his episode. You know, so guys like him who work hard. Dave Hartherley. You know, there's all sorts of boys. You know, they do the work required, and you know, just what else makes the Crusaders so good? I think it probably helps that they have some exceptional rugby players in the squad too. Like you turn up to training and you're pretty much training with the All Blacks. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and how have you found it personally? Obviously, you've got a battle with Richie Mo'unga to try and get a starting spot at the 10 jersey. How have you found that?
Yeah, look, it's been all good, mate. It was nice at the start of the season. You know, Rich had a wee bit of a sabbatical, so Ferg and I got a bit of a crack at it, and that was good just to get some footy. Like for me personally, I hadn't played in like 15 months prior to that because of injury. So it was great to get some footy. I mean, I came down here knowing that Richie's, you know, the number 110, and you know that ain't going to change. He deserves that spot, but you know, I've just got to work hard, and funny things happen in rugby, so I'm just doing my best to make sure that you know, I'm prepared to play, and hopefully opportunities pop up as the season progresses for me to get some more chances on the field.
So do you see it as a real battle between you and Ferg to get that backup spot, get that bench spot, and then if Richie does go down, one of you two of the guys given the opportunity? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, that's what I came down sort of thinking. It was, you know, battling it out for that spot, as well as just learning and you know, trying to reignite my love for the game. You know, I spent last year injured, and to be honest, I didn't have a huge amount of clubs come and calling after me. I hadn't played much footy in a while, and coming off an ACL injury, so I was just stoked when the Crusaders gave me the opportunity. And you know, to be here, it's great to learn and no doubt get better at my game and hopefully get some opportunities. But I think a year here will do a lot of good for me as well.
And how is the knee feeling?
Yeah, it's good. It's good, eh? First long-term injury, so I had no idea what it would be like. But I certainly, when I'm on the field, like I feel like it doesn't inhibit my game at all. Yeah, so it's good to go.
And how tough was that to deal with? Like you said, first long-term injury. What was it, 12 months? Tough thing to come back from. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was shit, eh? Well, I got my head around it, but just the timing of it really sucked. Like I'd come back from overseas, a long time overseas, really excited to play Super Rugby, stoked the Hurricanes to give me a chance to play. And then we had an internal hit out, in pre-season, sort of last one before the proper game started. And I just did it, making a tackle. So it was just a dagger of timing. Like I was really excited to try and push my case and play Super Rugby again and get some good opportunities, and then bang, that happened. So it took me a while to get my head around it. But I sort of chipped away at the rehab process. It was interesting hearing to I think Tom Robinson and Ethan Blackadder talking about like loving that process and just making the most of it. And I probably wasn't too far different. I don't mind routine, so I just got into a routine, worked hard, and then you kind of get a bit of a mental out from footy. So the injury sucked, the timing sucked, but using the year to just get away from footy was also quite nice.
And you also got into a little bit of coaching, coaching the Hurricane 20s during that time. So I know you and Jamie Booth had a huge influence on that Hurricanes 20 side, along with Lardy, sinking a few Steinies, no doubt.
Yeah, that was good fun, eh? Me and Boothie, the long-term injured boys, got tossed in the deep end to go down and coach in Taupo. But hell, it was fun, and I got an insight into coaching, and it's thirsty work.
Yeah, so do you think coaching's a career path for you? Because you've always been a very smart thinker of the game, got a great rugby mind.
I don't know, eh? I've never had a massive desire to coach, but that might change, and as I get older, that may change. Like my brother Jono, he's into his coaching, and I think he's got a real good mind for it. It might change for me, but I think I hope I've got a few more years playing left in me, and then I'll just wait and see. The one thing that would be good about coaching is just being in and around the rugby environment again. It's hard to replicate that elsewhere, and it's pretty cool. So potentially coaching, but it's certainly up in the air. Happy to do something else as well.
Mate, exciting times. But you mentioned Jono there. I am keen to hear about your upbringing, both of you two guys. I know you're both absolute lads. So what was your childhood like, you two growing up?
It was good, eh? We had a good childhood. Mum and Dad looked after us very well. So Jono's 3 years older than me, and pretty much my whole childhood I was just trying to keep up with him. So lots of sport. We'd be packing our bags, jumping on our bikes, and riding up to the footy ground and just kicking goals for 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. Or in the summer, we'd be doing the same sort of thing, going to the cricket net. So just heaps of sports, not many toys, not much Lego, but just heaps of sports. And it was good fun.
And was it always a 50-50 split between cricket and rugby?
Yeah, pretty much growing up. Yeah, summer was cricket, winter was rugby, and neither was the favourite. I know Christmas was always dominated by like backyard cricket and stuff like that, and loved my cricket. And then obviously Jono went down. He went down a cricket path for his first few years out of school. I stopped playing after school, but loved them both.
So what caused you to stop playing cricket? Was it, by all accounts, you weren't too great at getting out? Your teammates all used to hide when you'd get out. So you're a bit of a psycho after you'd been dismissed.
Yeah, I was a bit of a psycho my whole childhood, to be honest. Like, when I say keeping up with Jono, he'd just bait me. Whether it be rugby or cricket, he'd just bait me, and he'd know that he'd just hit a nerve and I'd lose my shit. So there's a few occasions I'll be chasing him around the backyard with a cricket bat or whatever. But unfortunately, that wasn't only the backyard. I was never very good at getting out, playing like first 11 stuff. The boys I'd get out and I'd come off the field just fuming, and the boys almost huddle outside the changing room, just giggling, just waiting to hear the reaction. So I think nearly learned to control it by the end of my time at school. But yeah, it was certainly a work on for a while there.
Is that why you quit? Did you run out of bats?
The bat was the one thing I didn't throw. It was too expensive. So I'd walk in, place the bat, and then everything else was a free-for-all. Gloves were great to throw.
Oh, so you were smart around it too. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
But were you a
I
batter?
destroyed my... Yeah, I was a batter. Yeah.
Never got into the bowling?
Like I could bowl some like right arm darts, but there wasn't much spin on the ball. So I was more of a batter growing up.
And what about your rugby? Were you always a 10?
Yeah, pretty much 10 or a 9. I played like a season of 9 at school one year, but pretty much 10, and it stayed that way really. Like a lot of 10s could cover 15, whereas for me, I mean, I'd happily jump out the back, but my profile probably fits more to slide into 9. But you just don't really see that these days.
Yeah, true. So when did you think rugby was going to be the option for you?
I guess in 7th form, like I played cricket and rugby right up through, and I love my cricket, but I guess there wasn't a clear sort of pathway with cricket. Like you sort of jumped into like an Auckland academy sort of setup, but I think the reason I chose footy is just because I loved it a bit more. I quite like, the camaraderie that comes with footy. You really work hard for 80 minutes and and then it's done and you can enjoy your weekend. So that probably played into it. But I got the opportunity to join the Auckland Academy, and they offered to pay me like $5,000 a year, and I just thought that was the jackpot, eh? So and that was sort of how I made my decision. Not on $5,000, but just a little bit more love for rugby than cricket. The $5,000 helped.
And I'd imagine those free weekends would have played a big part too, because you've always been one who has enjoyed your weekends.
That's the other thing. Certainly enjoyed my first year out of school. But I do love footy for that. I love working hard with your mates for 80 minutes, and then post game being able to park up and have a few beers and just enjoy it.
So going back to your school, why did you go to King's? Because your brother went to St Kitts, is that right?
Yeah, so Jono went to St Kitts. He got a cricket scholarship out there, and then I was pretty keen to go to St Kitts as well. Applied for a scholarship but didn't get one, but managed to get one out to King's, so I ended up going there. It was brilliant though. I really loved my time at King's. Awesome school.
And you were the first 15 captain, first 11 captain. Mate, you were an absolute wizard at schoolboy level.
I wasn't first 15 captain. That was Fussy Fuatai, but I think I got the job for like 1 or 2 games once he got injured. But it was good. Had a good run at school. Like the sports at King's was awesome, and the support. It was great.
And then how did you feel when you came out of school? You into the club footy? Is this when you linked up with Jono again playing club rugby?
So I went to Grandma Carlton out of school. That was like my family club pretty much. So I think Dad would have disowned me if I went anywhere else. At this stage, Jono was still playing cricket. But I went to Grandma Carlton, managed to make the Premier side first year out, like the top tier side. And we had an awesome year. Like that was one of my funnest years of rugby. It was we had a stacked team. We managed to win the competition, but throughout the whole season, it was just work hard, play hard, pretty much. Had some great Saturday nights at the club.
What did that look like?
You know what it's like. Had some great quarties. Being the young guy, the boys generally make me do whatever, and I was one of those guys who was just, yep, sweet, whatever you want. I was always up for it. So it was it was a good year. It was a lot of fun.
And did you think your form was good enough to get called into the Auckland squad?
Well, I was in the academy, Auckland Academy, but I never expected to play for Auckland that year. They had Gareth Anscombe, and then another guy signed. So I didn't expect to to play. I was just focused on having a good season of club footy. Played well, and then sort of found out that I was in the mix. You know, once the season came close. So I never expected to play for Auckland that year, but it worked out that I was in the 23 for most of the games that season. I rode the pine for 80 quite a lot behind Chicken, but it was epic being involved though. That first year out of school, it was brilliant.
And did you feel comfortable?
Somewhat. It was. I felt like I was good enough to be there, but at the same time, it's pretty nerve wracking. Trying to lead those older guys around as a young 10, trying to lead them around. So parts of that were a little bit, new to me, but I loved the experience.
And did you ever feel like your size was ever going to be a barrier? Like you're only 81 kgs now. You're probably even smaller back then. Did you ever feel like that was going to be something that would hold you back, or were you always confident that you were big enough and good enough?
I never really felt like it'd hold me back. It was interesting. Sort of when you came out of school, I feel this was about 10 years ago. A lot of the S&C was around, you just got to get bigger. And I sort of got to around 82 kgs or something, and then that was about it for me. And I never really felt like it was going to hold me back. I mean, I've always been quite brave defensively, so I felt like, whilst I'm probably not going to win any huge amount of collisions with my tackles, I'll certainly, be brave enough to put my head in the spokes and try and chop guys down. So I never felt like it was going to be an issue. Some coaches probably thought, they wanted someone a bit bigger, but for me, I didn't see it as a big deal, and I still don't.
And then you were picked into the New Zealand 20 squad, and the squad that you were starting ahead of Richie Mo'unga and some other big names there. Did you feel any pressure around being in that role?
So I was lucky enough to play 2 years of 20s. So my first year we were over in France, and I was sort of coming back from injury, but played a few games, and we lost in a semi. And then the next year, played in that team with like Richie and Damo and Anton Leonard-Brown and just some superstars, Jacko was in that team as well, Jackson. So like we had some real superstars in that team. But it was funny because I was like, looking back on it now, I was captain of that team because I'd had a wee bit of Super Rugby exposure. And I was confident in that role and stuff, but I got injured like 2 games into the comp or something. So I was out, and then I think Richie went to 10 and Damien went to 15. So not a bad little backup. Probably worked out the best for them.
Mate, that's something that stood out throughout your career. Is like you've been captain in pretty much all the sides you've been involved in. I remember you even captaining Auckland at a really young age. So what is it about that makes you such a good captain material?
I don't know, to be honest, mate. I try to be a good team man and hard worker, and try to let my actions do the talking more than anything. But probably just in those years where I was captain for Auckland initially, we had quite a few guys called up to the All Blacks. So you lose a bit of experience, and then it fell down the pecking order. But I love being captain for Auckland. I was very, very proud to do that, and it was cool times.
How old were you then? Because I think I remember playing against you. I was at Taranaki and you were at Auckland, and we were both captains of the sides. But you must have been about 20, were you?
Yeah, well, I went overseas when I was 21. So I think about 20.
True.
Yeah, so pretty young looking back on it. But I probably didn't think about it that much at the time. We had a coach, Paul Feeney, who was he's a good man, Paul, and he just filled me with confidence. He was just like, just be yourself, and so I did, and it was sweet.
And so you were playing. What age were you playing for the Blues? Must have been even earlier than that.
No, I think I debuted for the Blues at 20. I think I just turned 20 and debuted. I remember that day we were actually playing against Crusaders, and I got told on a Monday I was playing, and it was from Kerwin, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're playing this week," and I was like, "Oh yeah, sweet." So like on the bench or? And he's like, no, you're starting unless you don't want to. I was like, oh shit. So because that whole the whole preseason for the Blues, they had me playing at 9 because that was the year where they had like Benji was there. So they had Benji and then Chris Noakes and Baden Kerr. So, you know, in my head, I was down a pecking order in terms of 10s. So most of the preseason, they had me running at 9, just as like a 9-10 cover. And then we lost to the Highlanders round 1. And Kevin calls me into his office and he's like, yeah, you're playing. I was like, oh shit. Haven't played any 10 at all. But it was pretty exciting. And then I remember running out onto the field. It was our kickoff, and it was Richie Mo'unga standing on the 10, you know, where the number 7 used to stand, like right in front. And I was just like, what am I doing here? But I got into the game and loved it, and actually went it right that day. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool to play for the Blues at that age.
100%. And one person you mentioned there was Benji Marshall. What was it like having him involved in that squad?
It was cool, eh? He was Benji was an awesome dude, like awesome team man. It obviously didn't really work out for him rugby wise here for whatever reason, but it was cool, epic to like get to know someone that you know, I've always loved my rugby league and stuff. So, you know, you watch all the Benji highlight videos and whatnot, and so to get to know him and play with him, it was pretty cool.
What sort of stopped him from kicking on in rugby union, do you think?
It's a hard question, that, but I think they brought him over sort of hoping he'd be 10, but you know, rugby's such a different game to league. You know, there's a lot more decision, or you know, like the game management for a 10 in league is so much different to a half in the NRL. And so it wasn't really a 10. And then the Blues had Charles Piatow at fullback, who was like our best player. So it just kind of worked out that there wasn't overly a spot for him. So that probably didn't help. I mean, I don't know exactly, and I'm not the right person to comment, but that, in my opinion, it was probably just part of the problem here.
So did you get a heap of game time that year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got I think I played 10 games that year. So I played that game against Crusaders, and then I got a lot of starts that season. And I went not too bad, but sort of had ups and downs, and had a few good games. We sort of probably won. I think we won all our home games and lost all our away games, which is pretty classic Blues at that time. So I went all right, but to be honest, I probably just wasn't quite ready to be a starting 10 at Super Rugby level at that age.
Yeah, well, mate, you were so young and everything seemed to happen so quickly for you, eh?
Yeah, it did. So, I wouldn't take any of it back, but it's shaped, the career I've had, which has been great so far and whatnot. But if I had my time again, easing myself into it, might have been a better way to just slowly build. Whereas what ended up happening is I got, thrown in there, played all right, had some average games, and then sort of got tossed out the other side pretty quickly.
Yeah, so that's one thing I've always wondered about your career is why you said you left for France at only 21 years old. Such a shame to be going over so early. So what was the thought process behind that, or was there literally nothing here for you?
Yeah, so I had that first season with the Blues where I played a fair bit, and then I got injured and missed the end of the season. And the next season I was with the Blues again, but to be honest, they weren't really interested in playing me. I was on the bench quite a lot, but they weren't that interested in putting me on the field. So that wasn't great. Then there was change of coaches following that, and they were sort of humming and hawing, there might be a spot, might not be. So there was quite a lot of that around New Zealand. There might be a spot for you here, maybe not. And then my agent was just like, you've got interest from a club called Bordeaux in France. I'd never heard of them. Yeah. But he was like, look, it's a good place. What do you reckon? And it was just for 8 months. So it was like, go do that sort of during Super and then come home for the Auckland season. So I was like, yeah, why not? Pulled trigger on it. And that was kind of, why I went over there.
And then you didn't come back, did you? You stayed there for 3 years, was it?
Yeah, so I went for the 8 months,
Yeah.
and then I came back to play for Auckland. But before I came back, I'd have been going quite well over there, and so I re-signed for 2 more seasons, but came back and played for Auckland in between.
True. So how did you find it? You obviously
Yeah.
loved it over in France.
Yeah, it was pretty good, eh? Yeah, it was a great life experience. It was lots of fun. In the deep end a wee bit, heading over by myself at 21 to a place that I'd never even heard of, but it was cool. Great experience.
Mm. And what did you find about the quality of rugby over there in the top 14? Was it top 14 or Div 2 at the time?
Nah, top 14. Yeah, it was good, eh? Certainly a lot different in New Zealand. I'd say the quality of training was certainly a lot below par to what I was used to here. Like, I remember turning up my first day for Bordeaux. Backs training, we're doing 4 corners, like gut balls and like popping in the middle. And then when we got really expensive, it was the old truck and trailer. So that was day one, and I was just going, what the fuck have I signed up for here? But the boys could play.
Yeah.
Like, the boys could play. It was certainly a different brand of rugby, massively forward dominant, and just size meant a lot. Like, I'd just have big number 12s running down the channel all day. But it was pretty good standard. Like, you're playing against some massive names over there.
Yeah. And how did your debut go?
Debut was good. We were playing Stade Francais in Paris. So Stade Francais had won the comp the year before, and I don't think Bordeaux had beaten them in Paris in something like 10 years. So we got a win. I went all right, did my job. And the president of the club, president of Bordeaux, was like, boys, outstanding work. The night's on me. He said it in French, but that was what the boys translated it to me. So he pulled out his card and whacked it on some bar in France, or in Paris, sorry.
Yeah.
So I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was on. And, over in France, it's, you buy bottles. So you're buying a bottle of rum or whatever, and you're doing your solo pours. And I was a wee bit heavy-handed that night because I've just blacked out and woken up the next morning. And we had a bus to the airport at like 7:30 in the morning or something. And I've been woken up by my Aussie teammate. He goes, Simon, yeah, I think we missed the bus. Oh, fuck, what time is it? He's like, it's 11 a.m. So, oh, shit. So on my first away trip with the boys, I've missed the team bus, missed the trip back to Bordeaux. So I was just in all sorts. Like, I was shitting myself. Like, what are they going to do here? But we figure out, we get our own way back, jump on a train, and text the coach, and he comes back and he's like, no worries, you're allowed to get away with that stuff, and we have good wins like that. Get back to Bordeaux safe. So it was a pretty good outcome in the end. But yeah, pretty funny first night out.
Oh mate, that's classic, mate. They are so results focused over there, eh? Like, if you're playing well, everything's smooth sailing, eh? Like you said, you can do what you want pretty much, but as soon as you start losing, that's when everything turns.
Yeah, hard out. And I think part of that is like promotion relegation.
Yeah.
It's pretty stressful if you're down in the, bottom part of the table. There's always talk of relegation or whatever. So the ladder's going up in the team meeting on a Monday pretty much every week. You're always aware of it. So yeah, you did right. Huge results focus. And the other thing is like massive focus on winning your home games. And then, what happens away is not a big deal.
So how did the team go while you were over there?
We were decent, eh? Bordeaux, they've actually gone really well in the last couple of seasons, but historically we were a team that just missed out on the playoffs. So we were finishing like 7th and 8th, and it's over there, it's top 6. So we never quite made the playoffs, but we were always middle of the table. We were decent enough.
So then why the move to Edinburgh? That's another thing I've always wondered. Like, you were going so well in France, you're on massive coin, and then you move over to Scotland.
Don't know about the massive coin, but it was an interesting one. I guess like 3 years living in France by myself, it can at times become a wee bit isolating. And so I was sort of, during that whole time, I was looking at, as a opportunity for me to come home back to New Zealand or back to Super Rugby or whatever. But it's always quite difficult in terms of timing of contracts, because you're looking like 14 months ahead for the New Zealand Super Rugby team. So it's quite hard to get their interest. So I was going quite well for Bordeaux in my third season. And then, had a couple of things, options pop up, and one of them was Edinburgh. And I'd say it was probably my decision was more on like just my life as opposed to my rugby at that stage. So going up there was, it was an exciting, like going back to speaking English and experience that UK culture. So that was a big part of it. So it was just kind of just the way it worked out.
What were the other options?
Stay at Bordeaux, or there was a couple of other clubs in France interested.
True. So you went for the English-speaking Edinburgh option. And how'd you find it going there?
Yeah, it was good, eh? They're good people, the Scots. Like, they're real friendly people, not too different to Kiwis in a lot of ways. Edinburgh was a nice city. It was cold and dark, but I knew it was going to be cold and dark when I signed to go and play for Edinburgh, so couldn't really complain about that. We actually did all right rugby-wise. Like, we were sort of around the playoffs. We got a Heineken Cup semi-final, which is, I think, best Edinburgh had done at that stage, I think. So we went all right, but we didn't play a great brand of footy, to be honest. Like, she was pretty attritional, drive, kick, chase, dominant. That was the focus. So I didn't get many touches of the ball. So that part of it was a bit frustrating.
So was all that kicking from 9?
Yeah, all the kicking was from 9. Which is, I know, it's happening a lot around the world, but a lot of kicking from 9, just contested balls, and then worry about defense.
So how did your role change from going from France? What was your main role in France, and then what was your main role in Edinburgh?
Yeah, France was a little bit more loose. Obviously, they had their structures and stuff, but it was a wee bit more just jouet, as the Frenchies say. So, just, had a bit more of a license to throw it around. Whereas in Edinburgh, we went and we were quite a tight team. Like, it was more, in New Zealand, that's kind of around like decision execution. You might go for a cross kick and kick it out on the full, but the decision was good, so don't worry about it. Just nail the execution next time. Whereas over in Edinburgh, it was more like, if you do something, you better bloody get it right. Otherwise, it's not a good decision. It's only a good decision if you execute. So we're playing in fear a little bit, which was tough for a New Zealander.
Yeah. And what other Kiwis were there with you at the time? Were you there with the likes of Hardy and stuff?
Nah, I just missed them, eh? So, John Hardy and Bill Billy, they left the year before me.
Oh, true.
Unfortunately, so I heard they were good lads. So it was just a guy, Simon Bergen, who's played a few games for Scotland. He's a Kiwi, but he didn't play footy in New Zealand really before going over there. And
apparently, Edinburgh nightlife goes pretty good. How'd you find that?
Yeah, it goes pretty good. The Scots love it, eh? They have their socials and they're pretty good fun. So it was good. The nights of like the test matches, they were epic. Yeah, they were good stuff. And then Edinburgh also has it's called a Fringe Festival. It's like pretty much a month-long party where the population doubles over like July or August or something, right in the middle of pre-season. So there's plenty of weekend activities then.
Oh, mate, you would have been absolutely into it.
Had my moments.
So then why the move back to New Zealand, and how did that opportunity come up for you to return to the Canes?
Yeah, well, as I said, I was sort of always open to coming back home. And a lot of that was just about, my life outside of rugby. I'm a big family man, and I missed them the whole time overseas. So I was always talking to my agent about, looking at how could I get home, ruddy rah. But it's hard to, it was hard to just sign for like a Mitre 10 Cup team, and you're leaving a decent contract on the table for, it's just taking a big risk. So Luckily, I was back in January. We had a couple of weeks off and I came back, and then my agent said the Hurricanes were interested. So I actually flew down whilst I was home and had a catch up with Alfie and co. And then, yeah, like a couple of weeks later, they gave me an offer for the following year. So, yeah, I was stoked. Stoked to come home, really excited to play Super Rugby. And, yeah, I was fizzed, absolutely fizzed.
And how was your form for Edinburgh when you'd already signed your next contract the following year? Did you feel like that dropped at all, or did you feel like you were playing as well as ever?
It was actually, so COVID hit. I think I signed for the Canes in like January or something, and then COVID hit in February or whatever. So I don't even know if I played another game for Edinburgh after signing for the Hurricanes.
True.
Yeah, it was a weird time.
So did you feel like you came back a better player from your overseas experience? Obviously, as a young fella, you were thrown in the deep end. You're playing, starting Super Rugby, go overseas. Do you feel like you came back a better player?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've come back with a far more broad mindset on ways to play the game. Like growing up in New Zealand, massively biased on the way that we play the game, and throwing the ball around, playing more expansive rugby, and particularly when you see the All Blacks winning like they did or like they have been, particularly that huge dominant period where they won the 2 World Cups. You kind of go New Zealand's the best way, whereas going over there, I learned that there are other ways to play the game that might not be as exciting, but they can be pretty effective as well. So, I think I've come back with just a bit more experience, as coaches will term it. But certainly, like coming back home, it's been good to try and sharpen up around my ball playing and stuff, where you get so much more of that here, just decision making at the line and things like that.
Nice. And then I remember you coming into the Canes environment. Always loved it when a new player would arrive to the squad, opportunity to try and get a prank call. And mate, I knew the pressure was on after Bodie had left. Everyone was looking for this next big 10. Jacko seemed to be coughing it from the keyboard warriors. So was Fletcher. So was I. So try to prank on you, but mate, you handled yourself like an absolute champion in that interview.
That was good from you. You had me absolutely hooked on it. I had no idea. Because you just, I don't know, whoever was listening has maybe heard that one, but just bagging out the other 10s, pretending to be a radio host. I was just sitting there going, but what do I say? Lucky I didn't incriminate myself. That would have been embarrassing.
I probably could have tried a bit more once we went off air and got you to start really bagging the boys. That would have been good stuff. Try it down here, see if I bag my fellow 10s down at the Crusaders. It's probably a tough job, that. Not too much to bag. Yeah, is there many guys available for a prank down there? Anyone you think would be able to get hook, line and sinker down there?
I'll have a think. I'm sure I'll come up with someone for you. One of the young boys, one of the gullible ones.
Mate, it's getting harder and harder, but might be time to bring back a good old fashioned prank. But how did you find the Hurricanes environment?
It was good, eh? It was good fun. Like I loved turning up to work each day. Real good bunch of lads. Like I still keep in touch with a lot of them. Real good lads. It was a pretty relaxed environment. But when they got on the field, they certainly worked hard. I was gutted I never got a game for them. After getting injured, that sucked. So it sort of tainted my experience a wee bit there. But I mean, as I said, I love turning up to work each day. They're good lads.
So the following year, after your injury, you'd obviously only signed the 1-year contract. Was an offer from the Canes back on the table, or was that done?
Nah, there wasn't another offer back on the table. So I'd signed a 1 year. I was off contract for this year, and they were sort of saying there might be an offer, but it just didn't work out. So didn't have an opportunity to go back there, but stoked that it worked out to come down to Crusaders. Lucky Razor gave me a lifeline.
How good's that? Because you obviously had a pretty disappointing Bunnings Cup with Auckland being pretty much pulled out of the comp from COVID. So what was that season to deal with?
Yeah, it was weird, eh? For me, it was a bit different because I wasn't going to be playing anywhere. I was not going to be playing that season, but I was living with a bunch of the boys like Sass and Scraff and a guy Adrian Choate from up at the Blues. So I was living with them, and it was just like riding the waves. Like we could be playing this week, could be playing next week, might be off to Taupo tomorrow, maybe off to Taupo next week, and then eventually after like 6 weeks of that or something, it finally got pulled pin. So I just felt real sorry for the young boys. Like it's such a great competition for particularly young boys to get a bit of exposure and stuff. And so to not get that was, a shame for them.
And what was it like living with that crew? They sound like some absolute roosters to live with. Was Salisi still doing his impressions every day, or what was Scrappy like?
Jonty. They're good crew to live with. We had a bit of fun because we were in lockdown together. So yeah, we had a good time just taking the mickey out of Scraffy. Jonty was in fine form.
The other person who would have been gutted that competition was, Auckland were pulled out of the comp, was Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who was looking to sort of give rugby his first crack then. Did you have much to do with him in that environment, or was it all sort of just lockdown? You didn't really get to see anyone?
Didn't get too much to do with him, like only in camp with him for probably like 3 weeks. I played with Roger at schoolboys.
Oh, did you?
So I knew him a wee bit coming in. Great to see him back playing rugby again for Auckland and the Blues. It's epic, eh? So I didn't see a huge amount of him, but there's no doubt that skill set's there. Like you see him on the training field, and just some of the stuff he's capable of doing is pretty incredible, and he's got a great work ethic too. So little things like kicking and passing under pressure on the footy field, I'm sure he'll learn fast. And just watching him play for the Blues so far this season, like you can tell he's got the goods, eh?
Deadly footwork, eh?
Yeah.
And then, so what's your plans going forward? You've got this year to see out with the Crusaders. It's just a 1-year deal, isn't it? So have you looked any further ahead?
Yeah, just 1-year deal with the Crusaders. So, finish out the season here and hopefully get some opportunities. There's still a lot of footy to be played. So hoping that I can play a wee bit of that, but we'll just, see what time brings. So it's got to be patient. And then I'm heading back up to Auckland for the Bunnings comp, which should be good. Love playing for Auckland, love that crew. So I'm fizzed to get back up there, and then we'll go from there. So I'm not too sure what I'm up to, from the end of the year on, but we'll just wait and see and look forward to it.
Is the dream to stay in New Zealand now for as long as possible, or depending on super gigs?
Yeah, look, I'm relatively open to it. If good opportunities pop up in New Zealand where it looks like I'll be getting a chance to play decent minutes of Super Rugby, then I'd definitely be keen to stay. But then I'm open to going overseas again, eh? Just wait and see. I've learned not to look too far ahead, Gemma. It's rugby's thrown some curveballs at me over the last 10 years, so just take it day at a time almost.
Mate, that is what you have to do. But is there any competitions that make you think, man, I'd love to give that competition a go?
I think I'll be keen to play in Japan at some stage, eh?
The yen.
Yeah, the yen. But Jono had a year over there. He loved it. I've spoken to a few people who have all enjoyed it, enjoyed their time in Japan. So I reckon I'll be pretty keen to give that a crack, see what the lifestyle's about, and play some footy. It looks like fast rugby. Apparently the contact's not as big, which is an 82 kg rugby player these days isn't the worst. But mate, I'm open. I'd play anywhere. I love the French comp. Happy to play anywhere, to be honest, mate. River's best.
And your body's feeling good? Feel like you've got plenty of years left in you?
Yeah, I reckon I've got a few years left. I'm 28 now, but body feels good. Certainly up to it. Probably not as good as it did when I was like 20, but certainly feel up to the requirements of pro footy. So mate, I've got no plans of stopping playing anytime soon. But that can all change. But yeah, fingers crossed. I've still got a fair bit of footy in me. It'd be nice playing to the mid-30s, but we'll see.
Surely we see you playing to your mid-30s. So, but we sort of talked about it before, in that sort of 7-year time frame. I know you've spoken a little bit about coaching, not potentially the route you're hoping to take, but what is the plans post footy? What's the dream for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually very proudly last year I finished my 10-year BCom. Yeah, it took me 10 years to get there, but yeah, so we'll wait and see. I'm open to doing something away from rugby or within it. We'll wait and see. Business world. I'd be keen to try something out in that at some stage, but once the time comes a little bit closer, use those networks to try and make sure that I'm ready for whatever's next once rugby stops.
So how did you do your study? Was that just a couple of papers every year?
Yeah, pretty much. Just chipped away part-time the whole time. Occasionally I didn't do any, but I picked it up actually a bit more over the last 2 or 3 years. I'd do maybe 4 papers a year.
Yeah.
And it was good. I honestly reckon I played better rugby when I was studying than when I wasn't. Good to give you something to take your mind away from it, because it's so easy to ride the highs and lows of footy massively. Like you have a good day at training or you have a bad day at training, you come home and you ride that wave. So it's nice to have something to take my mind off it, particularly living overseas. I had a lot of time with my own thoughts. So having something else was great.
I think that's something a lot of rugby players don't quite realise is how much actual free time you have, as a professional rugby player. Yeah, you train hard when you're training, and there are some big days, especially pre-season and the busy days of the week, but you've got a lot of time. You've got a lot of spare time that you can be productive with. And at the moment, I know a lot of guys don't really see much value in that, and gaming and a lot of things like that occupy a lot of time, punting for some. But there's an opportunity for to get really good at something, and like you say, prepare yourself for life after rugby. I love that.
Hell, it certainly doesn't have to be study or whatever, but I just think using some time productively, it just always made me feel a bit better about myself. Like I could be not selected on a Tuesday and be gutted, but then go home and I've got couple of lectures to get through, which I don't necessarily enjoy, but you get them done, and then you feel good about yourself for it. You feel like you're getting a wee bit better. So I think just finding some way to use your time, as you said, we've got a lot of it, certainly is good for you.
Like that. Wow, it leads into the next bit, my favorite part of the show every week, questions. And Simon Sicko, Simon the Sicko Hickey, has come up with plenty in this one. Heaps of questions from some of your lads. First question, where is Sickle from? This is from your good flatmate, Scrafton.
Where is Sickle from? So back to my club rugby days at Grammar Carlton, there was a guy there called Brickle. He used to cop a bit of shit. Good man, but used to cop a wee bit of shit, and then some of the boys had started calling me Sicky, like Simon Hickey, and then that turned into Sickle, and they made me do some weird stuff. So I think that's where Sickle originated. Yeah, so I think that's where Sickle originated, but then it sort of progressed into other things like Sick Little Man and all the stuff. I just go with it.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, next one. Are you related to the weather guy, Jimmy Hickey?
I think Dad might be like second cousins with him or something. We're not related in any way that I've ever met him. Great man, good weather man.
One of the great
real good weather man. Yeah.
Is that a yarn? Second cousins of your old man, or?
Nah, I think he might be a distant relative.
He might be.
Nah. I don't know.
Good stuff. Okay, now this is a question that pretty much comes in every week. All the lads love a do story, but what's your favorite do, or what's your best do story?
or it's a toughie. Had a few good trips, but maybe one goodie was over one of my good mates, Michael Collins. We were both played in Europe our first year over there, and before coming back to New Zealand at the end of the season, we're like, yeah, we'll tee something good up, and so we decided to go to Greece for a week, and just bounce around a couple of party islands, and hell of a week. And I ended up getting a tattoo on my toe. And I sent my brother the photo, but no one else in my family. And it was like camel toe. And and mum caught wind of it, or mum and dad caught wind of it. And dad sent me this message just cracking up, like thought it was hilarious. And mum sent me this message like just blowing me up. She's like, I question your decision making, especially when you're on the piss. No more tattoos. What the fuck are you doing? You know we hate tattoos. And it was hilarious. So yeah, it was good though.
Show us your tattoo. What is it on your toe?
It's on my toe, yeah. A bit hard probably, but it's faded a wee bit now. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It's an easy laugh. If anyone gets offended by a little camel on your toe, then I'm not too worried about being mates with them anyway.
Oh, classic. Okay, the next one was a yarn about must have been your club rugby days. Tell us about the argument you had on the field with Jono versus Manukau.
Oh yeah, this was quite good. So I think Jono was captain, but he would just blow up referees. Like these poor referees would just cop it. And like they're reffing club footy. Like you're not going to get every decision right, but he would just blow up at the ref. And I just spent half the game like trying to fucking calm him down. I'm like, mate, it's not helping.
Yeah.
You blowing up the ref is not helping. And then it's just turned into a full blown argument on the field. And so these people must have just been like cracking up. These two little white guys. Just having an argument, 9 and 10 years. It was hard case.
Oh, what was it like playing club footy with him? You guys both sound like quite angry men.
I'm not that angry. I just used to be angry.
At cricket.
He's still angry. Yeah.
So he's angry at rugby, you're angry at cricket.
Yeah. Nah, playing club rugby with Jono was epic, eh? Yeah. Just playing with him. We played a bit with for Auckland too, which was great fun. The old 9-10 combo. But we just sort of think very similar things. So yeah, we generally played pretty well together. But club rugby, we just have like a kicking comp on a Friday, and so who gets to kick the goals on Saturday. It was pretty good fun. Yeah,
that leads to the next question. Who is the better goal kicker out of you both?
Oh, if you were to send us down to the park now and have a kicking comp, he'd probably beat me. But I like to think that games bring out my best kicking.
And does that get you the nod when you were having your kicking contest, or how would you decide other than whoever kicked the best at training?
When we played for Auckland, I'd normally kick the goals, but to be honest, there's not much in it. He can kick it further than me. Yeah, he can kick it further. I don't know.
Is he still coaching kicking?
Yep. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a good coach, John. I reckon he'll be a footy coach one day. He's good.
Does he coach your kicking?
Yeah, a wee bit. If I need some tips, he's the person I'll go to.
Yeah. Oh, how good's that?
That was quite funny growing up. He'd be telling me to do something. It still kind of happens. It doesn't fucking feel right. Yeah, it's not going to feel right until you start. So yeah, little bickering, but it worked out pretty well.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, next one. Do you still have aspirations to play Test footy?
Do I still have aspirations to play Test footy? Yeah, I mean, fucking never say never, eh? Obviously, as time wears on, it becomes less and less likely. So, I'm not going to come out here and be like, yeah, absolutely, 100% want to be an All Black, but would love it. But it's gonna take a couple of seasons of playing regularly, seriously good footy at Super Rugby level. So, as I said, I always take it a day at a time, and whatever comes.
Okay, next one. What's Big Pablo like?
He's good man, eh? Yeah, he's real good man. I think, like when he was coming, I sort of expected quite a brash, big Argentinian, but he's like real gentle giant, lovely man. He's got time for everyone. Yeah, he's got a huge amount of respect in the Crusaders environment.
That's awesome.
Real good. Yeah.
Because you watch him play, especially when he was playing for Argentina, you just see this physical, big, looked angry a lot of the time, eh? But
yeah,
we haven't quite seen that side of him at the Crusaders. He's obviously loving his time down there.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's loving it here. I think it'll be good for his rugby too, to play that a bit more of an expansive brand, but also with a bit more detail. Like coaches really push his skill set, and I think I don't know how long he's sticking around here for, but when he goes back and plays for Argentina, I think he'll be a better player for his time at the Crusaders.
No doubt, like that. Okay, next question is from our very great sponsors, Swish. Swish question. If you could get a video shout out from anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Maybe Tiger Woods.
Oh, Tiger, eh?
I've got the.
You're a pest too.
I've got the golf bug big time, so from Tiger would be quite nice.
Okay, this was the most popular question. Came in maybe 4 or 5 times for you, and they're all around fire truck. So, what's your all-time favorite fire truck?
Probably one in my bedroom, eh? Quite a nice fire truck. I used to sort of, once that first year out of school came, I really used to attack my nights out with a fair bit of intent. And that led to a couple of situations where I had the embarrassment of changing my sheets at home on a Sunday, putting the mattress out to dry. There's been a couple, but I haven't done that in years, just so everyone knows. I've grown up. I'm very mature now.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Next one? Who does it better with the Cordy? Scots, Frenchies, or Kiwis?
Kiwis, I reckon. Although it's also different, eh? Like the Frenchies are more likely to take you out for a 3-course meal and a few wines, and then start to drink properly at like 2 a.m. Whereas the Scots and Kiwis are more aligned and going hard, going early. But I reckon you can't beat a good Kiwi Cordier. The organisation's always top drawer, and the buy-in's great. Although I reckon Cordies have gone downhill a wee bit over the years. People don't buy in as well as they used to. Like when I was first year out of school, it was like, you're a young boy, just shut up and do what you're told.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's a lot of chat coming in from some of the young boys, making it a little bit more difficult.
No one's quite as easy pushover as you were.
Yeah. Do what you're told, it'll be fun, I promise.
Yeah. But look at you, you had a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next one. Player you most looked up to?
It was a mix between like Dan Carter and Carlos. I was like big Blues supporter growing up, obviously from Auckland, so loved Carlos. I was at that 2003 final that they won. That was pretty cool. So loved Carlos, but then Dan Carter, he was the GOAT, man. So looked up to him, and I actually lucky enough to play against him a few times, which was pretty cool.
How was that?
Yeah, it was cool. Interesting. Like I played him twice over in France, once here, and over in France, like he was a bit older, so he probably didn't have all the physical attributes they had, but he just pulled the strings. So well. It was pretty cool to see firsthand.
It's always cool when you're playing against someone like that, and you're just like sort of in awe of them, even though you're supposed to be playing against them. Yeah,
hard out. It was great.
Okay, next question. Did he ever buy a round in Edinburgh?
Love to know who asked that. My guess is Bergs.
Christine.
Oh, Dino. Couple.
Have you always been good with your money?
Like relatively, I sort of, like I was always quite keen to try and save up and buy a house in Auckland, which takes a fair bit these days. So I've been not too bad. I didn't blow too much, and also like I've never taken rugby for granted in terms of like it's going to be here for the next 5 years. I've always been like, well, I'm sweet for this contract, but then what if I get a career ender or I'm playing terribly? So I've never taken it for granted. So I've tried not to blow it, but, we'll prioritise different things.
That's it. Okay, next one. Do you think you could have gone far in cricket?
It's hard to say. I don't know. Cricket's such a hard game. I loved it, and I was like massively passionate about it all the way up until I stopped playing. But I don't, you could talk about it all day, but who knows? Like, it's a hard game, cricket. You might have what it takes, or might not. Like, we'll never know.
Yeah. Have you never played since school then?
Not properly. Like, I've played a couple of games of last man stands, which is a bit of fun, but never like serious cricket. Takes too much time.
They need to get you in that Black Clash.
Yeah, I'll be keen for hitting the Black Clash. That'd be good stuff.
Yeah, you and John.
Yeah, get John in there.
Mate, that would be good stuff. Opening the batting. The lads. Okay, 2 more questions. Most memorable moment on the rugby field?
Probably hard to go past my Super Rugby debut for the Blues, that was like an absolute dream come true, playing Super Rugby. And, I'm at the Crusaders now, so that's where my, where my heart lies now. But back then, like, playing for the Blues against the Crusaders, we got the win. That was a dream come true at the time.
Nice. Okay, last question, and I know this answer is going to be good because 10 years of traveling the world, playing footy everywhere, some of the best environments in the world. Best piece of advice Simon Hickey has for our Waterlad listeners?
Oh, that's a tough one. I should have come prepared for this. Could have told me, Jammer.
I know you have.
Well, why don't we just go with what I said earlier? Just all the footy players, just make sure you're doing something else alongside your footy. It'll help your footy, and it'll help your life off the field as well.
I like that. Sometimes you need to say it the second time to drum it home, and that was probably the perfect time to use that technique. You've used it at the start and at the end just to really reinforce how important it is. What a great piece of advice.
That's why I dropped it in slightly earlier in the episode as well.
Oh, mate, you're an absolute lad. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Go through your journey. Only 28 years old. Feels like you've been around forever. Captaining Auckland at 20 years old. Incredible scenes. And, mate, it's been awesome following your journey. And it's awesome to get to cross paths with you briefly for half a season there at the Canes. You are one of the great lads of the game, and looking forward to following you in the future, mate.
Beauty. Thanks heaps for having me, Gemma. Likewise, it's awesome to be on the potty, and I'm enjoying following the Waterlad journey, mate. So I hope to see it keep growing and growing. Cheers, mate.
You're a champion.